The sun was setting over the vast African savanna, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. Deep in the jungle, the desperate cries of a baby elephant echoed through the trees. Separated from his herd, he wandered alone, his tiny legs trembling with exhaustion. He had fallen into a poacher's traphus front leg, caught in a cruel snare. Every attempt to pull free only tightened the grip, sending sharp waves of pain through his body. He trumpeted in agony, hoping his mother would come rushing to his aid. But the jungle remained silent. Night fell, and the predators began to stir. In the distance, a pair of glowing eyes watched him, waiting. The baby elephant, whom we shall call Keto, was running out of time. Miles away, a distressed elephant mother, Mala, was leading her herd in circles. She let out deep, mournful calls, searching for her missing baby. The other elephants responded, with low rumbles, sensing her pain. She had lost sight of Keto at the river when he had wandered too close to the trees. She had turned her back for just a moment, and now he was gone. Panic surged through her as she stomped the ground, her ears flapping wildly. The older elephants in the herd, wise and experienced, tried to calm her, but nothing could ease her heart. She had to find Keto before it was too late. Keto shivered as a cool breeze rustled through the tall grass. His leg throbbed, and he could feel the trap digging deeper into his skin. He could hear distant roars, the chilling sound of predators on the prowl. A hyena appeared, sniffing the air, its sharp eyes locking onto the vulnerable calf. It let out a menacing laugh, calling for its pack. Keto trumpeted weakly, but his energy was fading. Would he be able to hold on until help arrived? Or was this the end? Keto's heart pounded as the hyena pack drew closer. Their glowing eyes reflected the moonlight, their sinister cackles echoing through the trees. The leader of the pack, a scar-faced hyena, stepped forward, sniffing the air, sensing Keto's weakness. Keto tried to move, but the snare held firm. He let out a weak trumpet, but his cries were lost in the vastness of the jungle. His body trembled, not just from exhaustion, but from fear. Just as the hyenas were about to pounce, a loud crack echoed through the trees. Something massive was moving in the shadows. The hyenas hesitated, their ears twitching. Then, from the darkness, emerged a mysterious savior, a massive bull elephant. The enormous elephant, covered in scars and with a broken tusk, stomped forward with a thunderous roar. His presence alone sent the hyenas scurrying back, whining in fear. He was an old warrior, a lone elephant who had survived many battles. Keto looked up at the giant figure with wide, hopeful eyes. The bull elephant, whom the locals called Baku, examined the trapped calf with a deep rumble. He could see the pain in Keto's eyes, the wound on his leg. With careful precision, Baku reached down and touched the snare with his trunk, but before he could try to help, a distant gunshot rang through the night. Baku froze. His ears flared, his trunk raised high in alarm. The jungle had been disturbed. The poachers were nearby. Keto whimpered, his small body pressing against the ground. Baku knew he had little time. He quickly wrapped his strong trunk around the snare and pulled with all his strength. The wire resisted for a moment, but then snap. Keto was free, but there was no time to celebrate. The sound of footsteps, of whispered voices, came closer. The poachers had heard the commotion. And this time, they wouldn't let their prize escape. Baku knew what poachers were capable of. He had seen his own family taken by them, leaving him a lone wanderer in the jungle. Now, he had to protect Keto at all costs. The baby elephant tried to stand, but his injured leg wobbled. Baku gently nudged him, urging him forward. The poachers' torches flickered in the distance, their voices getting louder. "Did you... he..." Far away, Mala, Keto's mother, suddenly stopped. Her massive ears twitched, her heart racing. She had felt something unexplainable pull deep in her soul. Her baby was out there, and he was in danger. She turned to her herd and let out a powerful, urgent trumpet. The older matriarch, wise and experienced, understood immediately. The entire herd, nearly 20 elephants strong, began moving as one. If the poachers were after Keto, they had no idea what was coming for them. Keto limped as fast as he could, struggling to keep up with Baku. The older elephants slowed, checking behind them. The torches were closer now. The poachers had spotted them. "Move! Move! We can't let them get away!" one of the men shouted. Then bang! A gunshot cracked through the air. A bullet struck a tree just inches from Baku's side, splintering the bark. They were shooting. Baku roared in fury and turned sharply, pushing Keto behind him. He would fight if he had to. But then, an idea struck him. The river. If they could make it to the river, the strong currents might wash away their scent and throw the poachers off their trail. But could Keto make it that far? The baby elephant had no choice but to try. Baku trumpeted loudly, a deep, earth-shaking sound meant to warn the poachers. But the hunters weren't afraid. Instead, they moved faster, knowing they had a rare opportunity baby elephant and a massive bull. Keto stumbled but kept moving as Baku shielded him, leading him toward the river. The sound of rushing water grew louder, but so did the shouts behind them. The poachers were closing in. "Don't shoot the baby. He's worth more alive," one of them ordered. Baku knew they were running out of time. He had to do something drastic. The old elephant stopped suddenly, turning to face the men. He spread his ears wide, his body towering like a giant wall between the hunters and Keto. The poachers hesitated. They had taken down elephants before, but this one, he looked like a warrior. One man raised his rifle, but before he could shoot, Baku charged. His massive feet thundered against the ground as he rushed toward them, trumpeting in rage. The poachers panicked, stumbling back. One dropped his weapon. Another tripped over a root. Baku wasn't trying to kill them, he just needed to buy time. And it worked. "Keto, go!" he rumbled. Keto didn't understand everything, but he knew one thing: he had to run. Keto reached the riverbank, his tiny legs aching. The water roared in front of him, strong and fast-moving. He hesitated. Could he cross it? A loud gunshot rang out behind him. Keto turned. His heart stopped. Baku staggered. Blood trickled from his side. He had been hit. The poachers were regrouping, lifting their rifles again. Keto let out a terrified cry. He couldn't leave Baku behind. But then the jungle itself rumbled. The ground trembled under powerful footsteps. The trees swayed. And then, out of the shadows, the herd appeared. Mela had arrived. Mala spotted Keto instantly. Relief flooded her, but when she saw Baku wounded and the poachers raising their weapons, that relief turned into something else. Pure fury. She let out a deafening trumpeta sound so loud, so full of rage, that even the bravest hunters would think twice. And she wasn't alone. The entire herd, nearly 20 strong, roared in unison, their giant bodies forming an unbreakable force. The poachers hesitated. Then Mala charged. Mala's charge was like a rolling thunderstorm, unstoppable and terrifying. Her massive feet pounded the earth, shaking the ground beneath the poachers. The rest of the herd followed, their trumpets filling the jungle with deafening rage. The poachers froze for a split second, then panic took over. "Run!" one of them screamed. The men turned and bolted, their rifles forgotten in the chaos. They scrambled through the thick brush, tripping over roots and vines, desperate to escape the fury of the elephants. One poacher dared to look back, just in time, to see Mala's tusks swing inches from his face. He dove out of the way, barely avoiding her wrath. Within moments, the poachers were gone. The jungle swallowed them whole. With the danger past, Mala skidded to a stop, her sides heaving. The rest of the herd gathered around, their deep rumbles filling the air like a song of victory. But Keto didn't celebrate. His wide eyes were locked on Baku. The old warrior elephant had collapsed, his massive body heaving with each strained breath. Blood still trickled from his wound. Quito let out a soft, broken trumpet and limped toward him. He nuzzled Baku's face gently, his small trunk brushing against the older elephant's rough skin. Mala walked up, her eyes softening. She had never met this bull before, but she understood immediately. He had saved her son. Mala lowered her trunk and touched Baku's forehead, a silent gesture of gratitude. The old bull rumbled weakly in response. The herd's matriarch stepped forward. She was wise, her skin wrinkled with time, her presence commanding respect. She studied Baku carefully before making a decision. This elephant was no longer alone. She turned to the rest of the herd and gave a deep, authoritative rumble. It was a cologne that meant protection, family, and belonging. Baku had risked everything to save Quito. Now, he would never be alone again. The herd surrounded Baku, shielding him as they guided him toward the river. He was weak, but not broken. The water would clean his wound, and the herd would stay with him until he was strong again. Quito stayed close to Baku's side, refusing to leave him. As the night passed and the first light of dawn touched the jungle, a new journey had begun. Baku was no longer a forgotten wanderer. Quito was no longer lost, and the herd had grown stronger than ever. The herd moved cautiously, keeping Baku in the center, his wound still fresh. Quito stayed close to him, his small trunk occasionally brushing against the old warrior's skin. He had found safety, but his heart still ached at the thought of how close he had come to losing Baku forever. Mala kept a watchful eye on her son. She had spent a night of pure terror, thinking she had lost him forever. Now, she would never let him wander off alone again. The jungle was full of danger poachers, predators, and other unknown threats, but for now, they were safe. The river's edge was calm, the golden sunrise reflecting off its surface like liquid gold. The herd gathered around, drinking deeply, while Baku rested in the cool water. His strength was slowly returning. Baku winced as the water touched his wound, but he didn't complain. He had suffered worse in his lifetime. His scars told stories of survival of battles fought, of friends lost, of a life spent alone. But today was different. He was no longer alone. Mala and the others stood by him, their presence solid and comforting. Even the matriarch, usually reserved, nudged him gently, a rare sign of approval. Quito splashed beside him, his playful nature slowly returning. He still limped, but his spirit was strong. "You're staying with us," Mala seemed to say through her gaze. And for the first time in many years, Baku felt like he belonged. Far away, deep in the jungle, the poachers stumbled through the undergrowth, defeated and humiliated. One of them cursed under his breath. We were so close. The leader, a man with cold eyes, remained silent. He had learned one thing, that night never underestimate an elephant herd. "We'll be back," he muttered, but the jungle itself seemed to whisper back, "No, you won't." The trees loomed taller, the shadows grew darker, and the distant trumpets of the elephants carried a warning. The hunters had lost battle, and they wouldn't dare return. Days passed, and Baku's wound slowly healed. The herd accepted him fully, treating him as one of their own. He was no longer an outcast. He was family. Quito never left his side. Watching and learning. He admired Baku's strength, his wisdom. One day, he too would grow into a powerful bull. But for now, he was content. Mala, once filled with fear, finally felt at peace. She had lost Quito for a moment, but in the process, she had gained something greater, an unbreakable bond with an elephant who had risked everything for her son. The matriarch led the herd toward a lush feeding ground, their movements synchronized like a well-rehearsed dance. Quito watched as Baku navigated the terrain, his steps deliberate despite his injury. Baku was more than just a survivor, he was a symbol of strength. And Kito was learning from the best. He imitated the old bull, practicing his steps, mimicking the way he used his trunk to pull down leaves. The older elephants chuckled in amusement, but Baku watched with quiet pride. "You'll be great one day," his eyes seemed to say. One night, as the stars glittered above, Baku stood alone, staring into the distance. Memories of his past life drifted through his mind, the family he had lost, the loneliness he had endured. But then, a soft nudge brought him back to the present. Kito had come to stand beside him. Baku rumbled softly, a deep, comforting sound. The baby elephant responded with a happy squeak. The past was behind him now. His future lay with this herd, with Kito, with Mala, with all of them. And for the first time in years, he felt truly at home. Baku took on a new role in the herd, not as a leader, but as a guardian. He was always near Kito, watching for danger, guiding him through the jungle's challenges. The other young elephants, curious and playful, gathered around him too. He was their protector, their mentor. Mala watched this unfold with quiet gratitude. She knew now Baku had entered their lives for a reason, and she would never question fate again. The herd moved as one, a powerful force in the vast jungle. No predator dared to challenge them. No hunter would ever take them by surprise again. They had learned that their greatest strength was not in their size or their tusks, but in their unity. They were a family, and nothing would break them apart. As the sun set, painting the sky in breathtaking colors, the herd stood together, their silhouettes forming a majestic sight. Kito lifted his trunk and let out a joyful trumpet. Baku responded with a deep, resonant call, and the jungle answered back, its whispers carrying their song through the trees. Mala watched Kito playing beside Baku, and her heart swelled with love. She had feared for her son's life, but fate had brought them an unexpected savior. She knew now no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Kito was safe, and that was all that mattered. The story of Baku's bravery spread among the animals of the savannah. The other herds heard of the lone bull who had saved a calf, of the mother who had fought like a warrior, of the herd that had stood against poachers. They were no longer just elephants. They were legends. Seasons changed. Kito grew stronger. Baku fully healed. The herd thrived. And deep within the jungle, a new calf was born. Life continued, just as it always had. As the first light of dawn touched the horizon, the herd moved forward, their path endless, their bond unbreakable. Baku was no longer alone. Kito was no longer lost, and fate had given them something neither of them knew they needed each other.